What's good, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Dugouts for your latest transfer news video. And can you see it? Can you see the Xavi Simmons light at the end of the tunnel? Is this deal finally going to get done? And is Nkunku going to do us a solid? We've also got the latest on Renato Veiga, as the club are still looking for new suitors for the player. We're going to get into all of that right now, starting with what we're waiting for. We want to know about Javi Simmons. So this is the latest on the Simmons situation. Chelsea have already set up a deal with RB Leipzig for Javi Simmons. Oh man, is it finally happening? Are we finally getting to the point now where we can stop talking about the potential signing of Javi Simmons and start, celebrating the fact that he is finally signed for the club and is making the move to Chelsea? It is looking very much likely. The fact that they're coming out now saying that a deal has been set up with Leipzig behind the scenes. I think the only thing that's sort of delaying the announcement or the actual official announcement coming out that the bid's been put in and accepted is the sale of Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku. We discussed yesterday in the previous video that this was going to be vital for the Javi Simmons deal and the Garnacho deal to go through, was the sale of these two players. And we have had some updates on Nkunku today, which we're going to get into just a bit, but it's gone on for so long, and it's gotten to the point now where we're not so invested in it as we were before. Of course, we all want the player. We know that he would aid us, especially in attacking front. And God, could we have used him on the weekend to bring off Parma, or even to inject him with Parma to create something against Palace? But at the moment, I think I speak for all the fans where we just want this deal over the line, and we want to stop talking about how much, Fabrizio's still coming out about the percentages of how likely it's going to be done. We don't care about the percentages. We just want the here we go that is finally going through, and it looks like it is happening. There is talks that he may still potentially play against Bayern Munich on Friday in the opening fixture for Leipzig in the Bundesliga. And that's mainly because, they haven't so far brought in a replacement for Xavi Simmons, so they haven't really got anyone that can play in his positions. They would leave themselves a little bit light, and they don't want to sort of go into the season. And it's also a chance for the player to say goodbye to his teammates, goodbye to the fans, just to play that last hurrah game and hopefully end out on a bang. I mean, we would love it if he could finish off by beating Bayern Munich in that game, but that could change. It could go all through and he might not play in that fixture, but I have a feeling that he may play in this just to say goodbye. Now, as I mentioned, one of the things that's slowed down the deal up until this point is the sale of Nicholas Jackson or Christopher Nkunku, and we have had some updates on that. There is another suitor that we've spoken about previously for Nkunku, and they have accelerated this, and it's none other than Leipzig themselves. This is the latest on Nkunku. RB Leipzig stepping up talks with Chelsea over a deal to sign Christopher Nkunku. Direct contact between the clubs on a permanent move for the 27-year-old. Not close yet, still other option, but the France international open to a Leipzig return. Now, this is putting us in a fantastic situation. We know we need to shift on Nkunku if we want to bring in Javi Simmons. It's paramount to that deal going through. And we have two potential suitors here for Nkunku. We've got Bayern Munich, who have been speaking to the player since January, have agreed personal terms. But in terms of the deal with Chelsea, they're playing a little bit hardball in the terms that we want a permanent solution. Nkunku wants a permanent solution, but Bayern only want a loan with first an option to buy and then potentially an obligation once criteria is met. And Chelsea don't want that solution, and I don't think Nkunku wants that solution either, because he wants a permanent home, knowing that when he makes this next move, that's where he's going to stay. Leipzig coming in, they are showing the intent to bring him in on a permanent, which we want, Nkunku want, and Leipzig will then get an immediate replacement for the likes of Javi Simmons, who would be moving to us. So in terms of the complexity of any deal, this is probably the easiest and the quickest option, being that we're already in discussions regarding the Javi Simmons. So it's just adding the extra discussion of Nkunku in part of the deal. This could also push Bayern Munich's hand. If they desperately want this player, we know they have had a torrid time in this transfer window. They've lost out on Wirtz. They just keep losing out on everybody. They were recently going in for Nick Woltermaid, which again, they've lost out on. So, in terms of wanting their man and getting their man, they are now going to be put in a situation going, well, Leipzig are offering this permanent solution. If we don't offer this permanent solution and meet Chelsea for their demands, we're going to lose out on yet another player. And we have not brought in backup for Coleman. We've not brought in a backup for Musiala, who's now injured. And they are going into the season looking very, very light. So, again, all Chelsea have to do is sit back in their chair going, who wants him? And one of them is going to have to, take the initiative, step it up and get this over the line. So for us, this is perfect. And I do think this is going to be something that's going to be done within the next couple of days because of how close the Simmons deal is. I think if Leipzig step up their intent and they go, yeah, look, we want Nkunku, here's the money, you can have Simmons, I think that will be deal done. Now, if Bayern Munich see this and they go, look, we're going to lose out, and they come in straight away, they could potentially get this deal done too. So it is just going to be a waiting game, but all the pieces seem to fall into place at the right time for this deal. And by the end of this weekend, we could be seeing Javi Simmons holding a Chelsea shirt with an exit for Nkunku, which we've all been waiting for and all have expected for a long time. Now, as I mentioned, another player that we recently looked like we were going to get rid of. He was making the move to potential of Atletico Madrid. They put in a bid, never since materialised. They went out and got a different player. So in Renato Veiga's situation, there hasn't been much talk about him for quite a while up until this point. And now teams from everywhere are coming out the blocks. And there's been one in particular that apparently has agreed personal terms. This is the latest on Renato Veiga and Villarreal. Renato Veiga has reached an agreement on personal terms with Villarreal. Chelsea value him at around £34 million, though Villarreal remain hopeful of securing a deal under 30 million. Now, Renato Veiga is an interesting one. We know that we need a centre-back. He is his preferred position to play as the left centre-back. And since the Colwill injury, which is going to see him out till probably April next year, and Badiashile is out till September at least, there is, the argument, why do we not use Renato Veiga? Why do we not reintegrate him as we have a centre-back that did pretty well out on loan at Juventus last season that could potentially fill that role, that void that we are missing, and then we don't have to go out and spend money because we've already got a replacement in the squad. Now, one of the first things that did come out as soon as Colwill did get that injury was the fact that Vega, regardless of the injury and regardless that we need a centre-back, he is still on the market to be sold. I think it's one of those situations where this was pretty much dead. They can make a profit on him. It's clear, Atletico wanted to pay the price. I know Villarreal are trying to get under 34, but even if we were to get 30 for him, we're still making quite a good profit on Vega. So I always felt that this was a deal that was going to happen regardless of what club it was and regardless of the injury. He was going to be on the move. I think not so much the bridges have burned. I just think the decision has been made between the club and between Vega and his agents that a deal away, a move away is the best decision for the player, which is gutting because we didn't really see much of him. The little snippets that we saw before he, had his falling out and before he went on loan to Juventus, he looked pretty good. He definitely endeared himself to the Chelsea fans quite quickly. He looked like a tough character. He was always jeering up the fans. He was making these big challenges, and it looked like there was definitely something there. On the ball, he was pretty good. We didn't see him in the centre-back role because our main role for him was to play in the left-back and at times filling in the midfield role. But again, this is an opportunity with the injuries where we could have potentially seen what he is about. It just doesn't look like that is going to happen. So a move away is the most likely option. Villarreal have agreed personal terms with him, so they're already 50% of the way there. I don't think personal terms would be difficult to agree with Vega. For any team, really, his wages aren't going to be that expensive, and he wants the move. So I think that side would always be quite easy to complete. It's just going to be the discussion of the price between the clubs now. I think Chelsea are going to try and get as close to that 34 valuation mark because that's what we value him at. But I do think that there'll be a little bit of compromise because it's getting to the back end of the transfer window now. We've still got quite a lot of players on our books. We're still trying to get rid of Nkunku and Jackson. We've still got the likes of Raheem Sterling, Ben Chilwell, let's say Vega's on the list, Disasi. There is still a load of players that we still need to shift on. So haggling over a few million here and there, I think the club, when it gets a little bit closer down the line, they're just going to go, look, we're going to make profit on this player anyway. Let's just get him, let's give him the deal, and then move on to shifting some of the other deadwood out of the club. It would be a good move for him. I think he would do well in Spain. Villarreal have always been, quite a decent side. So yeah, I would, wish him all the best. Again, don't have much affinity to him because I didn't see him that much. But again, any player that's come within the club, I'd always wish them well, no matter where they're going. Even if they're going to a rival, I wouldn't wish them as well because I don't want them to do well at the rival. But thanking them for their time and wishing, they have at least a reasonable career for the remainder, especially for a player that is so young. But I'd love to know your thoughts on, you know, your thoughts on the Javi Simmons deal potentially finally getting done now with Nkunku maybe going the other way to Leipzig. And what do you think on Vega? Do you think that we should keep him? Do you think that we should use him now that we desperately need a centre back rather than going out to buy one? Or do you think the move away for the player and for the club is the right decision? Drop that in the comments below. But for now, guys, that is all from me. And if you are enjoying the content, please hit that like button, subscribe, and enjoy the journey. But for now, take care of yourselves, and I will catch you in the next one.